All right, so I want to do a quick walk around on everything I've done to my 2017 Commander 1000. These are my ideas, doesn't mean they'll work for everybody. Some are probably better than others, but I get bored and I just like to continue and continue. And as my girlfriend says, she doesn't really ever see that I'm going to stop. Yeah, it is what it is. Those are bead locks from a Maverick X3. Little do people know the offset can be different on the Mavericks. And when you do that and you put them on a Commander, you have to use 2-inch wheel spacers. So those are the 2-inch wheel spacers. At some point, I'll probably buy rims for it, correct the offset, and go for a much wider stance. But that's what I have for now. The things that I've done to the front LED bar there, it is out of the way, it doesn't get hit. Unless I run into a tree, then I'm gonna have bigger problems. By putting it on top, sometimes they get ripped off, things like that. One thing I did change is I put a different fairlead on there, a Hawes, if I'm saying that correctly, or if that's the correct terminology. I don't claim to be a 4x4 expert, but what I did here is put a different one in. The key in what I did to the front end is the bolts that hold that fairlead, the shiny silver thing, in place. Can-Am, in their infinite wisdom, loves to put bolt nut combinations in spots they should never be. So I had to change my winch rope out, and when I did that, I realized how much of an absolute pain in the ass it is to get to the winch, really because of those bolts right there. So what I did is when I had them off, there is a metal plate in behind that. I used that fairlead to hold the bolts in place, ran the nuts up on it that came from Can-Am, and I welded them in place. So now I can take that fairlead off and gain access a hell of a lot easier than what Can-Am ever designed to do. Maybe they had a reason for it, I don't know, don't care. I corrected the problem to help me. The advantage in doing that is I can drop this front bumper, take those bolts off and all the bolts holding that front cover on in place, remove it within minutes. I can be cleaning that radiator because they get muddy, they get packed up, full of mud. Biggest problem I hear with everybody is my machine is overheating. I can take that front end off relatively about 10-15 minutes, gain full access to the radiator and clean it. I use, I think, a Frost-Rite, something air conditioning coil cleaner. Once you get it clean, that's a good preventative maintenance to clean it on a regular basis. So that's my biggest advantage of what I did here is put those nuts, welded them on the backside so that I can gain access to that relatively easy. By putting the light there, one problem I had is I had this hardwired, and I ended up putting a waterproof connection there, so that way I can connect that. Unfortunately, this was all in place, so the wire loom doesn't match up quite as well. I'm gonna get new, I'll correct that. I'll turn the lights on. I like the halos. I don't like the way they look during the day when it's turned off, because they're white. They're not exactly red, they're a little light red, they're not pink. But I just like the look because I think it's kind of cool. Did switch to engine ice, so the machine is converted to engine ice. I don't see a difference at all. For me, they just come in convenient half-gallon sizes, easy to transport. Everybody raves on it, so I did it. Some of the things that I did to the engine is these Can-Ams, again, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put plastic goosenecks where the radiator hoses attached to the top of the heads. That has been changed. I have all metal ones, and I also changed the plastic valve covers to metal valve covers as well. If anybody does that conversion, there is a kit out there that I bought. Does not come with any gaskets at all. I bought the valve cover gaskets, had no idea I was going to need them for the goosenecks, found that out the hard way, and lost a lot of fluid. As I walk around, there are rock lights. You can kind of see the mounting points up here. It is what it is. This is not a BMW, a luxury machine. Audi, whatever you like or prefer. The rock lights are up underneath there. I don't know if I can see them, but nonetheless, they're there. I'll turn the lights on so everybody can see. Biggest pain in the ass I had with this machine was finding rocker glides, tree kickers, whatever you want to call them. And when I did, and you look under Super ATV and everybody out there, it stops at 2015 and picks back up at like 2018, 2019, something stupid. And everybody said, you can put them on there. Well, I called it Super ATV, spoke to them and said, nope, they do not fit, they will not work, cannot work. But they make an XT version of this that has those on it. So I found those for like $100. They're beat up, scratched up, like I could care less because the machine's a machine. I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna bang it up a little bit. But it was tricky because there are no real good points to know where to mount that in the front and the two spots in the back. I started with the passenger side, knowing that I was gonna burr it up. It was gonna be a hunt and peck situation. The holes were a little bigger than what I wanted. Not a big deal because all I did is once I got it attached and got them in there and bolted it to the frame, to the points that Can-Am puts on all these machines, even the missing years that everybody was missing online. I mean, I was frustrated as hell trying to figure this out because you can see where I busted up stuff in hidden trees. But bolted them up, got them in there. They work, they're great. I wish they were out further to where they would actually cover the back wheel. Could I get manufactured ones for $1,000? Yes, but $100 they're gonna work. I use this machine for mild rock climbing. I am not the guy that's going to go up trails that are gonna break machines because my goal is to go out, have a good time, ride, be safe, but come home without a repair. Went through a couple different mirrors. I went with these mirrors because they hit and they fold back. And that's a huge advantage to me because I take this in and out of a shed on my property, and these mirrors always hit. They go both ways, they flip back into place. I'll get to the interior in a little bit. I had these from an old quad runner, put them on here. Why not? I had them. Big deal. Did put some reverse lights on it. I did not go through the effort to figure out how to get them to turn on automatically in reverse, but I have a solution for that, and I'll show that. I do have a two-way radio. It's a YTY TYT 8600, something like that. It's great because it works. I can program the damn thing, get it to display what I want it to display, all of those. I learned a heck of a lot when it comes to the antenna. I was going to use a little cell phone antenna, and a guy thankfully reached out and said, dude, that's not going to work because these things are designed for certain bandwidths. You have to match that bandwidth, and then you have to tune this antenna. I end up having to cut, I think, about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch off of this antenna. It does flex. I see a little bit of rust going on there. I'll fix that, take care of it. I'll probably just put a rubber hose over it because it will not affect it. When you do these things, they are selling these antennas that do not require a ground plane. Again, I learned a lot more than I ever thought I would about radios. Can you go to Rugged Radio and figure it out? Absolutely you can. They've already figured it out. They make it easy, but that comes at a cost because the same radio I have is the same radio they sell programmed. Don't ask me about the doors. Don't know where they came from. It was on the machine. When I bought this machine, and why I bought this specific one over a different one, was this machine was used on a farm, 200-acre farm, to install barbed wire fence posts. The guy was loading it up every day, installing them, but he did nothing to this machine except for maintenance it. So it was not, in the terminology, molested. It didn't have stray wires going everywhere. It wasn't beat up. I wasn't getting somebody's hillbilly rig that had wires everywhere and shit like that. That's what I didn't want to deal with. I dealt with that on a quad. Anybody that's bought a used machine understands the first several months you're going through and unrigging, jerry-rigging somebody else's shortcomings. In my house, my garage, I have about every wire connection you could ever want. all different size colors of wires, gauges, wire loom, waterproof heat shrink. I solder everything. If you have it, you're going to do it right. When you don't have it, I'll just get it later. Guess what? You never get it later. And got a buddy that, he bought a used machine, had to go back and unjerry-rig it, and then he went through it and just redid everything. Radio, the whole 9 yards, because he was just frustrated with dead batteries, phantom this, phantom that, and working. Does have a receiver hitch on it. That's one you can get off of eBay. It is an absolute must. I do not use the bottom one at all. I just need a way to elevate that up. The only drawback is I cannot drop that rear bottom tailgate with that in place. I can do it enough to get the inner panel out. I haul a lot on this. Like I said, I have about an acre property that I use a pool behind. So I also haul rocks, I haul material, seed, whatever. So I added these as reassurance. They're little cheap generic clips. They're not designed to hold a car. They're just going to give me a peace of mind that this thing is not going to come open, because I am having issues on the left side. I've replaced the bolts, I've replaced the catch, I've replaced the little, whatever doohickey is they call this for this tailgate to be removed. I wish the tailgate honestly didn't come off, because it's always problematic because these things come out on me. The one was bent up over here really bad, but nonetheless, it works. I do carry a self-ratcheting or self-retracting Rhino ratchet strap back here because it's real convenient. You hit this little button, it just ratchets back into place. It stays in place and gives me something whenever I need it. When it comes to the bottom and what I have in storage, little cheap cans from Harbor Freight. They work great because they're waterproof and they'll hold water. But you will get an idea here in just a second. Doing this one-handed. Drop that down so we can get into here. This is my setup below. A rigid box because it's sturdy, it's waterproof. I have 2 cans back there that I just showed you. I have a walking stick because where we're at, we have copperheads. You don't go out in the woods without a walking stick to poke and see if shit's moving under your feet. That is a knife, shovel, hatchet, machete kit from Schrade. Got that in Gatlinburg at the Great Knife Works or whatever for like 30 bucks. Couldn't pass that up. But if I get into trouble, I'm not digging to China with that shovel, but it could get me out of a bind when I need it. So that all fits in there really good. It's waterproof for the most part. It doesn't rattle. Put this thing back in place, close this back up, show you what I've done here. I don't want my gear to fall out. Have I ever had it fall out? No, but I don't want it to fall out. I haul some shit in there. So came up with this little square U-bolt, drilled some holes in there. It slides in. Some nylocks hold it into place. When I close my tailgate, guess what? That lower door cannot come open. Could it if I hauled too much weight? Yes, anything's possible. But it just gives me peace of mind that I'm not going to lose my shit while I'm going down trails. Rear camera, I'll show you that, how it's displayed in front, inside the cab. That's my washer fluid setup. I put clean water in there. That little gun rack that I have holds it in place so it's out of the way, it's not falling around. Cheap $3, $2 Walmart shower thing to clean, and it works great. In the back, and I'll get to the lights, you're gonna see I got 1-inch clear lights back here. I do a lot of stuff at night. I like to be able to see what I'm doing. Where we're at, we do not have power. We don't have running water. So lighting is everything because I can see about every planet ever known to mankind out there. Another thing I did is I do haul a 3-point setup in the back that I can control via a switch in front, and a seater. Instead of a seating machine, instead of running a cable all the way to the back and have it in my way and flipping a freaking switch up there like I've done in the past, I put in an SAE connector back here to where it is water resistant, not waterproof. but I have a 12-volt source here that it's controlled by a switch there. So if I have a seeder on here, I can turn that seeding machine on and off when I need to stop spreading and broadcasting. And when I want to turn it back on, supplies power, does its thing. Hoping I'm not missing anything. Outside, that's probably about it. We'll get into the inside. Don't mind that cable that's dangling down there. You'll see why I did that in a minute. 4-point harness. That's an absolute must. If you roll, it is a problem. The only thing I don't like about this particular Can-Am and standard roll cage, and I'm going to correct it, it has no bar that goes across here, so I do have to mount these up a heck of a lot higher than I want to. So, but that's a project for another day. Like I said, I get bored, so I keep doing everything to it. In the bottom, again, that you'll see why I have that in a minute. When I did this, I put a fuse relay box in here. That relay box is controlled via the key. I don't want dead batteries. Dead batteries means I'm walking and screw that. So everything is key switched. What I have done, and you'll see when I do this, is I put a timer relay that's up there and it's set for 3 minutes. Like I said, I'm in pitch black dark. When I turn the key off, I have interior lights that come on, and you're going to see them. It keeps the interior lights on and the exterior lights on for 3 minutes and then turns itself off. So that means I can park, I can get into my cabin and not worry about what I'm going to stumble across. But when you do this, and I have a wiring diagram for it, there is, I want to say 6-gauge wire coming over to this fuse block. So that way I have plenty of power, plenty of juice right here. There is a waterproof Bosch relay. They sell them waterproof with a socket, with pre-wires coming out, pre-wired, so that way you can make all your terminals, your connections. I have a diagram because I know exactly what each one of these fuses control. Everything I've added to this machine has its own fuse. So if I blow one thing, I don't blow it all. However, this is fused by a 30 amp fuse there, maybe 40, maybe 50 amp fuse. It's just how I decided to do it. This machine gets parked weeks at a time at my property. When I do, I can come in here and turn this knob and it disconnects the positive power. I wished I could have done it to the negative, but it's to the top. There's just not enough room to do it. I use those on my boats. I use those on my wave runners because those machines don't turn off. They still draw power. And I'm tired of coming back to a dead battery. Now, I do have a solar powered battery tender that I put on, and if you do it correctly, this is the only wire connected directly to the battery, not on that dial, that little rotary knob. So when I plug the battery tender in, it will keep the battery charged. One thing I did, you're going to see these wires are mostly black. I painted them black. I just hate anything that's a colored wire because it looks out of place. It looks like it wasn't factory. Let's just leave it at that. And I don't like that look. Anything I can do to hide what I do, I try to. There's one of my red lights, and I'll show you the cabin lights here in a bit. Had a bag, storage bag. Sorry, I have to have that light in here so you guys can see. And ladies, sorry. Get my damn thumb out of the way. But that's just a bag I can store shit in. I do have a two-way radio, like I said. It is a TYT 8600. Not a lot of information on how to program that thing. That was a doozy. I had the Baofeng UV5Rs that are handhelds. They work. I operate on channel 16, I think. We'll see when I power it up. But I programmed the Baofengs to do what I want. If I'm saying that correctly, I programmed this unit so they all match. I have local police. I have fire. I have all of those. I turned it off to where I cannot transmit because that is illegal on those bands. So the system is all set up. The good thing is we all run these things. They are waterproof, they say. I'll say they're water resistant. So it is what it is. I run a lot of accessories. Like I said, that 12-volt plug in the back. I have different lights. I have different things I do. I've actually got one of these programmed that'll hit a relay and shut down the pull behind lawnmower. If I get in a bind, because I do mow on a hill, if I get in a bind, I can hit an oh shit button. It will kill power to those blades. The thing is, I still have 500 pounds of a mower behind me that's looking to kill me. At least I don't have it with spinning blades. It is what it is. Again, I will touch this up to be black because all these wires are different colors. It just looks better black. When I did this, I laid it out and I basically wrapped this in tape just so it would be black going all the way down. So all my cables coming from down go in, and I drilled a hole right there. So this is a one and done. I cannot add anything to it. Hence why I brought power up here. And then all these low voltage switches are running off the same source, but they're all individually done. They are lighted so that I can see if they're on or off. There's my rear camera display. You can see it's dirty, isn't it? I don't care how many times I wash this machine. The dirt we're in just does not come off of a machine. Rear, mirror. I love it because I use it. I don't always leave this in place. I do have one of the little trucker deals that hold it up there when I'm not using it. People asked about these fans. Guys, ladies, it's only dumb if it doesn't work. Middle of summer, I'm out there, no shade at all, mowing grass, spreading seeds, spraying weeds, doing shit like that. These fans I came up with, and there's a guy that sells these kits that you can actually buy a whole board that goes in. But I got these off of eBay. Not eBay, Amazon. That's the new buy of everything. They do go through the roof. There are all stainless steel all the way through, Nylox. There are spacers to bring it down a little bit to just get air going through. This is an absolute effing godsend when it comes to being in the machine. There's one there and one here. They are individually controlled to where I can turn one on, both on, reverse them if I want. However, because sky's the limit of what you want to do with it. If you're good with electronics, you'll know. That's an Uber sign. I'll light it up for you so you can see. I'm going to have to plug it in to do that. I do run a PowerVision power tuner on it. I've not programmed it to the machine yet. I've worked with DynoJet. There is a problem with how these connect to the machine and marry to the machine. I've talked to their tech support. They're going to rewrite their manual to correct that. This one came with just a stereo. You're going to see I have a mid-grade stereo. I am not out there to pump sound 4 miles away to where everybody else can enjoy my crappy playlist. But it's enough sound for me. I typically do not trail with the volume up really high, and the reason being is too many times have we broken machines where people just couldn't hear when the machine was in a bind, and they kept going and then they snap an axle. That ruins a good day for everybody because we're not going to leave anybody behind, and we all have to fix it. I like to be able to hear if the machine is under duress for that. I do have a separate radio switch. It was down here. I don't know if you saw it earlier. It's just a little toggle switch. I left it in place because I can turn the radio on and off without the machine having to be powered. It's just something I liked. This holds my GPS unit, which is Samsung, so I can put that in there. I have a Z Fold 4, so I don't have a phone holder in here because, my God, if I get dust in the hinge, I'm screwed. They will not cover it under warranty. So I typically carry a different phone. It's just in my pocket because I'm not making calls. As long as I can get it to Bluetooth to this guy, I'm good. I left this in place. You're going to see that I have a Boss, which, hey, 20 years ago, Boss was crap, but I don't care what sound bar you get. They're probably made by the same company across the board, same Chinese manufacturer making them all. But there's a reason I have that, because I got it for a song and a dance for an Amazon Overstock warehouse. My switches are all standard. I really tried to go standard. This switch is a 3-way switch. Up turns that light bar on in front. Center turns it off. I flip it down, that turns on the rear backup lights that I have. So that's how I'm controlling the backups. Do have the winch switch here, which came standard. Heated seats, 3 levels. I tried to make it clean. I didn't want a ton more switches up here. I've seen that look. I don't like it. Didn't want to add them down here. I wanted to keep it as factory as possible because I think it just looks better. Hence why I went with that setup right there. And it is just zip tied up there, and it's zip tied for a reason. Number one, I'm not done. But number two, I can just cut the zip ties, take it down, add another accessory, zip it right back into place. What's holding the radio? Those are just standard radio or radiator clips or whatever you want to call them. And the black that you see, that's just heat shrink I put on them. I do have a interior light. I guess I could have turned that on. Again, everything has to be powered through the machine. That's if I lost something, I can find it during the night. That's my backup camera. Some people laugh at that and say, you really don't need one. In my world, yes. I'm down at Red River Gorge, and those drops are half a mile. And sometimes you just need aid to know where you're at and what you're doing. This, I don't know if it'll power on. Yes, it'll power on. Hopefully it doesn't make, you can see maybe. I've got it programmed off-road. We call ourselves the 530 Club. Yes, channel 16 GMRS. 530s because we joked with a guy, he likes to ride for 5 minutes and drink for 30. Call me what you want. I don't really drink and ride in these machines. There's already enough to worry about. I've learned the hard way. With that, the winch, I have a remote. Yes, they all come with a pluggable remote in here. Mine didn't come with it. I've heard good and bad. I ended up tying in a $15 wireless remote to the back of this switch. And that allows me to be wherever I need to be and control the winch. Because, you know, the biggest problem is we all forget what is up, in, is up, down. I can't remember. I got too much other stuff to remember. I'm lucky to remember my name. So I added a remote to that, for that, to where I can remotely control it. When I bought this machine, somebody had removed the 12-volt cigarette adapter. I put a different one in, which has a USB-C and, I don't know, a mini or whatever, the new version that you can plug either direction or the traditional. Plus, I put a voltmeter in there. I've had some dead battery issues in my past. So this tells me exactly what my machine is doing. If I think I'm getting low on voltage, I don't want to get stranded. I don't like to ride alone, but sometimes I do. So that's what I did there. There's my DynoJet powered up. So interior lights, what I decided to do with this is I got the little 1-inch lights from Amazon. Oh yeah, I forgot real quick. That's a brake thingy down there. That is a must in my world because I do park on slopes and I can lock the brakes on this, leave it in gear if I need to. Traditionally I don't. But this allows the pressure of the weight of the machine to be on the brakes, not on the pawl for the transmission, because that will cause you some grief later down the road. Some of the things I did inside here, okay, I'll skip the lights, I'll get back to it. This center console was completely removed when I bought the machine, because yes, it gets hotter than a mother humper in here. I put in, I think it's called Silas, that is a sound deadener and heat deterrent, whatever, heat shield. That, all this console has been coated with that. It helped a lot, but you'll be surprised how much heat still comes in through this little gate right here. And we all know if you really want a hot, cup of coffee, just leave it in the cup holder. I bought this one here because it brings, even though I coated this, still gets hot. I put this in here so my drink is up a little bit higher. I did buy a blanket that goes in here. Somebody actually makes them specifically for these machines. In the winter, I take it off, and I don't need a heater in this thing. We all know how hot these things get, so I'm nice and warm in this machine, but I put the blanket on in the summertime. My lights, strategically placed. That allows me to see everything in the dash for what I need it to be. I have footwell lights on each side. I have a light back here as well, 2 of them. That lights up the machine just enough at night to where I can do what I need to do and see and not be blinded. That's why those are in there. Here I've got an external speaker, cheap little speaker for the radio so I can hear it. We're going to move this light around. Give us a different lighting to the back here, hopefully. Sound, like I said, I wasn't going for competition. I'm not entering an SPO, whatever. The machine came with these Boss pods already. They were connected over to this bar, this little bar here, and firing up. They worked, so I kept them. I got this sound bar for an absolute steal. I think I want to say I paid like 18 bucks for it at an Amazon overstock warehouse. It worked. It came with everything. It had the lead. It also had the little box that Boss, I'm going to say Boss sold, so you can do MP3 or Bluetooth, streaming, radio, whatever, and control the little dome light on the back there. There is another dome light in the back. I don't know how bright it is because I just got this installed. Major pain in the ass, because if you own a Can-Am, you understand that everything is made for Polaris. Kind of like when I didn't own a Harley Davidson, everything was made for Harley Davidson. To mount all this, I ended up having to put in, I think it's a 2-inch piece of rigid conduit, and there are U-bolts holding it up here. And it also, I'm going to put additional straps on this because, my God, I cannot have this coming off and smashing me in the head in the event that I crash. It is what it is. But that's up there. That was a major pain in the ass because this this was all assembled and I had to go up there one person. It was heavier than a mother humper. Pardon the language. So wires are all tucked up around the rails. They're painted black so you don't see red. I just hated that. Everything's strapped down here. But so instead of using a little pod that Boss gave me, I stuck with the little radio that came with this machine. I don't know if that's factory or not. It's just, I think, a 4-inch round when MTX makes them. Everybody makes them. And if you have the round hole already, go that route. It's cleaner install. I just didn't want anything hanging off to the pod here that I had to reach for, things like that. I just kept that because it had the amplifier outs, the low-level outputs, RCA's coming out. Plug into this unit here because it comes with a pigtail, and this also has a relay out, sound relay, low line, so that allowed me to feed down to a kicker. This is a Kicker 10-inch Hideaway self-amplified unit. Is this going to last 10 years? Probably not, because it is not designed for wet environments, but I don't get a lot of wetness up here. I get it in the floorboards, I get it around the seats, I don't get it here. If that becomes a problem, I will build a nylon cover that goes over top of that. That's a bungee version to cover it in the need that I need to do that. So how's the sound? It hits. Again, it is not a $4,000 radio that you've seen out there that some of these guys have. They got more money than they got sense. But it hits really well. It gives me good sound. To mount that thing, this is perfect because it fit between these two seats. I did have to use I think it's like a 1.5 inch angle iron, and it is truck bed coated, and everything is hardened bolts. Use hardened bolts, use Nylox, use Loctite. That way your shit doesn't come loose. But here's the bar that goes across, and the important thing is that it extends past this bar, because still that thing's 30 pounds or so. I don't know, 20, 30 pounds. I can't have it coming loose. So in the event this fails, if I hit that hard, my thought is this is going to hit that bar and stop. There is one that goes from this side to the other on this little crossbar. The bottom, you cannot see it. It runs between the seats. I don't even know if you can see it between the seats. Yeah, there it is, right above those lights. I put that in, and there's another bar that runs along the same deal. I put it in, and by the sheer luck of God, it was the exact size and dimensions I needed to hold that kicker unit. It sounds really good. I'm very pleased with what I did with that. The lights on it, the rock lights, they come on. I think yes. Rock lights turn on when I do this. Does that help a lot? It did on the quad. I really liked it on a quad. I didn't do it for show. I didn't go with Dancy lights because I don't give a shit about that. It works for me, but so the rock lights do work. By doing that, they turn on with that switch. So when I'm dark, I need to do that. I'm going to show you what I did here. I think it's kind of funny. So one problem I had, so hopefully, yeah, there we go. Make sure it didn't go upside down. One problem I had is since I switched out that cigarette adapter, that's what I'm going to call it. I'm an old guy. I could not run a air pump. So what I did is, thankfully, people are out there creative. Little SAE connector for the battery tender. They make this harness you see, and again, I'm just testing something or looking how I'm going to install it. It will go from that SAE connector to the adapter I need to plug in 12-volt accessories. Great idea. So the dangling wires you see, okay, quirky, whatever. I think it's kind of funny when people see Uber and I'm riding around. It makes them smile. That's worth it. There's my halo lights. Like I said, they're not exactly red. They look red in the camera. They're red enough. They don't look pink. I just think it's a cool look. Gives it a different look. People like it. The lights in the back, now that I can show you that, those lights are there. And as you can see, it gives me plenty of light in the bed. The only downfall is I do get a little bit of a glare on this back window. I thought about mounting them up in those corners because I could, but I've been living with it, so it doesn't bother me. See if I can shut the lights down in the garage. You can see kind of how it looks. Motion sensor's going to trap me. There's your red. What they look like, again, looks really cool at night. Looks angry as hell. I'll turn the other lights on. Turn this off. You can see I've got just enough ambient light in there to give me everything that I need to see. And again, those are 3 minutes. If I get the oh shit, I lost a key down there, I can hit the big bright light in the center for the overhead light, things like that. Turn this on. That's the light bar. It's a light bar. The only thing I'm going to add, because I do get at night by myself, is I have the rear lights that work really well. It lights everything up. I'm going to put side lights here as well, because again, when I'm working at night, sometimes I just have to light the area up. So that's it there. Turn the machine off, and voila. You can see, you'll see by the dash when the dash turns off, that the interior lights stay on just long enough to where I can get out of the machine and get back to my cabin and be safe. I may put magnetic switches on the doors to where I open the doors, they automatically come on, but I haven't done that yet. So machine's off, and as you can see, I can still get up into my cabin. It's a red light, so when I'm doing that, I'm not light blinded, whatever you want to call it, from being white lights. So it's out there. Anybody have any questions? God, I hope I covered everything I did. I have greased everything. You can see the dash is off, light's still on. You know, when I did the relay, the timer relay, I did have to coat it with clear lacquer, let it dry thoroughly for days. That way it's waterproof. But that's kind of the machine that I did. Some of my ideas may not be everybody's ideas, may not be the best idea for them. That's okay. Like I said, I get bored, and I like to know what I'm doing. The backup camera, completely dark. You can see it's still, you won't be able to see it. Lights up, shows me what's there, because I opted to go with the non-infrared, with that version, because it just gives me, there's a little more light back here. Any questions, ask. This video is a lot longer than I thought. 40 minutes of a walk around on a machine. I have days and days and days wrapped into this. I am my worst own enemy. I'll run cables, think that I have them all stowed away, and then I'm like, oh, God, I wish I would have went around this, or I would have went that direction. I will cut it all out, undo my solder connections, reroute it, re-zip tie it, put it all back in. because it is a one and done. Do it right, you don't do it again. Wires for the stereo is problematic because there's not a lot of places to hide things. I don't like wires just dangling. But right beside this seat and in here is a nice cavity where all my RCA cables are all bundled up, everything there, and it works well because it hides stuff out of the way, and that's what I wanted. So I think that's it, guys, ladies. Happy trailing. Make your machine yours. Do with it what you want. Your idea may not work for somebody else, but it is what it is. Take your time if you're doing wiring on these machines. I can't count how many people I've had to bail out because they get in a rush. They think they're going to go back and do something and they don't do it. Lights went off. Look at that. It's been 3 minutes. They are off. Interior lights are off. No more red lights. Pretty cool. But do it the right way and you'll be happier in the long run. Little things, you got to think about safety. When I did these bolts right here, as you can see, they're nylocks. I cut them off flush because I did not want to come loose. Yeah, I'm already going to bang my head, but I didn't want a 3-inch spike freaking going through my skull. I have had this interior completely out of this machine. When I first got it, my girlfriend, she just knew it was going to be trouble because this machine was tore apart. Because I wanted to route wires where I wanted. Oh, one other thing I did. In the transmission, you can get a little plug harness. I don't know what they call it, but it tricks the machine when you have it in low. It takes, I'm going to call it the governor off or the limiter off of it. The machine thinks it is in high all the time. Even when I hit it in low, it's going to say high on the dashboard. I'm in low and it will deliver full power to this machine in low. It is a freaking beast when you do that. I recommend it's like a $12, $15 setup. Can you go on Kamimoto and get one? $15. You can go to Super ATV, same exact deal, $30. Do your homework, price things out. You'll save a lot of money. So 2017 Can-Am, ton of hours into it. I'm running out of ideas. Next thing's probably going to be a better suspension, the rims, things like that. But I made it my own. So thank you.